Hey, this is Kyle Kunkel with the Bear Fruit Show, where we talk about business, real estate, and life. So super excited to have Will on the show and bringing us a unique perspective from his business and just his story. Welcome, Will.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate being here, man. This is super fun, super early, but this is how we do it, right?
Hey, this is part of the grind, man. So getting up, we're doing this at a little after 6. And
yep, 6:20 in the morning.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
It's the best, man. Early bird special.
Yeah, early bird gets the worm. So
yeah, always.
So tell me a little bit about your story and just your grind and how you've gotten to where you're at.
Man, just from like having to move all over the country from, right out of college, like San Diego, Colorado, Montana, Indiana, now back out here. It's been interesting, man, just from a perspective of what I've done. I don't try to shape it in a way where I've done so much. I feel like I've experienced a lot, which is super fun. I think experience is the best teacher of anything that we have in our lives. The more you can go do things, the more people you can interact with, the more your life is going to feel a little fulfilled, but also you're going to feel like you're making an impact in some way, shape, or form. So my story is, I went to 4 different universities out of high school, finished up at Purdue. Super fun. And then when I was playing baseball there, I ended up coming out to California, helped build a few different little logistics firms there.
Okay.
And then I went out to Indiana and helped build a beverage distribution company. And now I'm here. So I'm actually here by I guess you could call it a family situation. My mom, love her to death. She lives right down the road from me. She had a couple of strokes, so I was the only one. I'm one of 6 kids, so 5 older sisters. They all have their own families, their own lives, and I was really the only one that was mobile enough to move. So being able to come out here, help take care of her a little bit, and then I ended up going to work for a company that I trained with in college called Exos. Exos is, for the most part, on paper, you see who they are, and they train a lot of pro athletes in the off season, but then they also put a lot of college guys in the combine. I want to say anywhere between at least 60 to 70% of the people who are drafted in the NFL combine
go through them.
Train with Exos at one of their locations. So I worked in their business development department there, brought on some really awesome clients. And then, when COVID kind of came around, most people don't know that Exos, their actual main business model is fitness center management with big companies like Google, Intel, Adobe. Lululemon was one of them that I brought to the table. But with that, it was really just one of those situations where I saw our business model and if no one's going to be at your headquarters to train and be at the fitness center, it's I was okay, this is a little gnarly because a company I work for, that majority, 80% of their business comes from this, is going away.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked around. I was what's the future? What's the next step? And decided to jump into, the electric vehicle space. And now I'm with a company called Atlis Motor Vehicles. So.
Okay. Nice. So you kind of bounced around, and it seemed like everywhere you kind of took a piece and grew from that and just kept learning. And I think that's what I already like about you already. It's hey, I want to meet as many people as possible, learn as much as possible, and give back as much as possible.
Yeah,
so,
100%, man.
That's awesome. So tell me, why the electric vehicle space? Was it just good timing, or what are you super passionate about it? Is it kind of a combination of everything, or?
So yeah, I mean, I kind of, when I looked at it from an industry perspective, I was man, Tesla became a pretty big thing between I want to say 2015 and now. Obviously, they're most profitable company out there, the biggest, company. Elon's, richest dude in the planet. He's trying to save humanity in whatever way, shape, or form he can. But I had no knowledge of the automotive space or just electric vehicles for that matter. I had no experience, and they were hey, we're going to hire someone in this role to come on and kind of help us fundraise, because we've got some really interesting battery technologies and everything like that. And when I first took a look at it, I was man, okay, so everyone is doing some somewhat the same. Build a vehicle from the top down. Like, let's just get a bunch of parts and integrate.
Yep.
And the approach at Atlis is really about vertical integration, where you own the foundation of the technology, so the battery technology and a lot of the systems that go into that, and then you build the house from the ground up.
Okay.
So where you can take that battery technology and then put it into not only the vehicle, but home energy storage, residential, commercial, that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's a different approach.
Yeah.
Like,
they're thinking bigger than just the car. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at Tesla now, I think Tesla,
they're starting to try to do that, right?
Well, they are doing that. Yeah. I think what they've done really well is build out the charging network for the vehicles to be able to travel around the country, But I think they're getting to the point where they really believe that they have to own the battery technology. So they kind of did the opposite approach of what we're doing, but they've learned how to scale really well.
Yeah.
So I think that's really why they're being so successful, is that they've taken a 120-year-old industry and flipped it in a way where it's like, hey, like, we can do it differently. And I think that's one thing that really drew me to Atlis was, my CEO, he comes from a very interesting background of, I don't know if you ever heard of a company called Axon before.
Axon. I don't think I have. No.
So Axon, they're really well known for, they used to be called a company called Taser. So all the Taser technology that police force use out there. He's responsible for the fast battery charging technology in the Tasers, but then he's also responsible for the body-worn camera systems that all of our police force use today in regards to transparency and stuff like that, and then connected it to cloud services. So his background in creating and reshaping an entire industry is also what drew me in. I was like, okay, this guy's changed the world already.
Yeah.
But now he wants to do it and take the battery technology knowledge that he figured out there and apply it to work industry applications. So think heavy duty trucks, anything that needs to like grow, dig, be built, because that's kind of one of the things that's never going to go away.
Yeah.
Is like things are always going to have to be built. Things are always going to have to be mined or dug or grown, whatever. That's really what drew me to Atlis, was this guy's changed the world already, and now he wants to do it for the people who are the working people of the world.
Yeah.
So that was like a really just a different approach, and I was like, man, like this is some next level shit.
Yeah, this is something I can get part of.
Yeah. So being able to come in there and like help them fundraise from the get go, being a completely crowdfunded company up until last end of September. Yeah. And just going public.
Tell me about that. I mean, you just helped take this company public. What was that experience like? What was like stuff you didn't know or you got to learn along the way?
Yeah. So I mean, I've been surrounded by a really awesome team. Between my CEO, my president, and CFO, and a few other people on the executive team, we've really figured out through the crowdfunding process too, with these things called Reg A campaigns. They're basically mini IPOs, and what you have to do is you have to go through audits with the SEC. You have to go through all sorts of financial stuff that really kind of set us up to do that, like at a larger scale, because a Reg A is essentially just a mini IPO. So we did a bunch of mini IPOs up until we actually went, full blown IPO on the NASDAQ, and it's not necessarily an IPO, and it's not necessarily a direct listing. It's an IPO light. There's only I want to say a couple handfuls worth of companies that have done it the way that we've done it, and it's becoming more of a novel way to do it. So it's been a learning curve, because I have no financial background, but like understanding how many hoops you have to jump through with the SEC from a financial reporting perspective.
Sending reports and
oh my gosh, like there's just so many different things that you have to like take into consideration when taking a company public. So man, there was just so many different things that you have to figure out in order to make kind of something like that happen. So it was really fun. I mean, it was a lot of PR stuff, a lot of things with investors that we've had up until this point. We've got over 20,000 plus investors in the company, which is like awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, it shows a lot of public support for us. Not a whole lot of institutional money, but we've got some really good partners out there. So it kind of validates, our mission and what we're doing, especially from not only a battery technology all the way up through the full pickup truck, but it just shows that people want the product.
So tell me a little bit about the product. Like what is it? How can I get it? Like what does that look like?
So it's interesting because since we're vertically integrated, it's like I was saying earlier, with building the foundation of a home, we have 3 different business units. So we have an energy vertical, which is all just battery technology, charging systems, battery packs, that kind of stuff. And that's really the vertical that we've already launched. We started shipping packs. Can't really say too much forward projections here, but we are starting to ship packs to customers this fall.
Okay.
So really we're trying to stand up that foundation of that house before we get to the vehicle part. So our aspiration is to take the energy and then roll that into the chassis and then roll that into the truck. So there's three different product verticals technically.
Yeah.
So you have batteries, energy, charging systems, then you have what you would call a skateboard chassis, which is like the underlying technology of the vehicles. Everything from motors, gearboxes, battery packs, wheels, brakes. Just think just the chassis of the vehicle without the shell on top. That can be sold to like upfitters, people who make like box trucks.
Okay, so maybe a lot of like commercial companies,
delivery vans,
okay,
that kind of stuff. We've got a few partners in that space that are doing that. And then basically that chassis then goes into the heavy duty pickup truck. So it's think like an F-250 to F-550 size. So not really like an F-150 Lightning. Although the Lightning is cool, it just really can't do a whole lot of work.
Yep. It's more for show than
Yeah, I mean, there's just been articles and stuff that's gone out about the Lightning, you know, towing an Airstream. It's only 6,000 pounds, and it goes from a 280-mile battery, technically range, down to 80 miles before it needed to be, recharged. That's not a solution, man.
No, it's not.
That's
a problem.
Anybody who wants to do that is not... they realize they're going to have a headache on the charging side because they're going to be wasting more time at a charger. Yeah, and what's the one thing we can never get back? Time.
Yeah.
Time is our most valuable asset that we can never get.
That's right.
So now GM just came out with the new Sierra Denali, and that's actually a much better solution than the F-150. I think they did a really good job there, but it's still not something that is going to replace our diesel vehicles.
Yeah. You're not solving problems basically. And I actually just heard this the other day, and I got to make sure it's true. But I did hear like we have about a month's left of diesel fuel left on like in the U.S.
Oh, I did not know that.
Which is a big.
It's a little scary.
Yeah, it's big scary because that's like, trucks aren't moving basically.
Yeah. So. Well, especially at the bigger level, class 7 and 8, you think semis, that's a massive issue because that then hurts supply chains significantly.
Yeah.
And if the wheels aren't turning on those vehicles, people aren't getting food. They're not getting their business supplies. Or, that's a scary situation, man.
Yeah.
People think that everything through COVID with supply chain and ships sitting in the harbor and, Long Beach was a big deal. If we're going to run out of gas or run out of diesel, then that's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how our, current presidential administration approaches this.
Yeah, I think it could be a problem. So we'll see
so
how that works.
But yeah, with those current offerings that are out there, they're not providing a true solution for anybody who's got a work truck fleet like that's on the heavy duty side to really make that transition over, because you're not giving them towing or payload capacity that's similar to diesel.
Yep.
You're not giving them also from a perspective of downtime. If the wheels aren't turning on the vehicle, they're not earning, they're not getting a job done.
Yeah.
They can't be sitting at a charger for 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on where they're at in their charge. Yep. So that's kind of where, our goal and our mission from a battery technology perspective is like a true differentiator. So the battery tech itself, coupled with like a 1.5 megawatt charger and the thermal management that regulates how the battery is from a heat perspective, it allows us to charge like a 500-mile battery in under 15 minutes.
Wow.
Every time.
Dang.
Yep.
That's in 15 minutes?
15 minutes. A lot of power, though.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing there is with a 1.5 megawatt charger, there's a couple other companies that are coming out with megawatt charging, but you have to have battery technology on site to basically mitigate the brownout and blackout grid risk that you get when you pull that much energy off the grid.
Yeah.
So, like, if you think about how gas stations are today, you got a big tank below the ground, feed up to the pumps. And essentially, that's kind of what we're going to be doing with our own charging network. So we're not going to be putting them in malls or anything like that. We're going to be putting them along highway corridors where most of the work trucks and work vehicles are going to be going by.
Okay.
Because that's where they're going to pull off. They're going to want to get their 15-minute charge, get back on the road, and go get the job done, or go home. So it depends. But that's really the angle. Is time's one thing we can never get back. And if you can give people back their time, then you
Well, you're
allow them to
changing the
do.
game for the business owners and the employees. Employees don't have to sit there and wait. They can get back to their families. Business owners are saving time. They're saving money. All of it. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, and everyone's got these lofty, environmental and, climate goals.
Yeah.
Everything's being pushed super hard right now across various different states, especially California and New York.
Yep. Yeah, big time getting pushed.
Yeah.
So tell me, and I know a little bit about this, but I don't know if you know, but tell me a little bit. Do you know about like carbon credits and like stuff like that? How does that fit in with your guys' industry, and what does that look like? And for our guests listening, maybe touch on what that is.
Yeah, so like carbon credits, essentially when you go out and you create products that are renewable or they meet a certain ESG standard.
Yep.
You are able to basically qualify for government credits that the government's going to pay you to continuously keep making these products to be put out into the economy.
Yep.
So with the carbon credits, it's really about carbon offset. So, okay, like if you're replacing one vehicle and the amount of emissions that's going to create, then you will get a certain amount of credit towards your company for that.
Yep.
So like Tesla right now, they make buku bucks off of their carbon, their carbon credits that they're,
selling
receiving
out
from the government. Yeah. And not only that, they can sell their carbon credits to other companies.
Yep. So they're selling them to like Delta and the airlines and stuff like that. Because these guys are saying, hey, we want to be able to remove our footprint, and so we got to lower that, and so they're buying these carbon credits at an outrageous price point, basically.
Exactly. Just so that they can qualify for ESG standards under the government.
Yeah, so they're not getting taxed at the higher level. Yeah,
exactly. So the problem with where it's at now is that it's not going to last forever.
Okay.
It's going to become a standard where if you're not meeting it, you're going to get fined.
Yeah. Or like put out a business fine, or like
no, more like
just
you're
like
just
big
gonna
money.
You're just going to get taxed by the government in some way, shape, or form. It's all going to come down to a state level too, but I think it's just one of those things where, depending on the state, depending on where we're at in our current economy, every single state's got different goals, and when they want to push things. New York and California are like, hey, we want to stop selling internal combustion engine vehicles by 2035. A lot of other states have 2040, 2045. A little bit more reasonable. But it's
happening,
there. Yeah, because they want to be able to meet those ESG goals and get carbon credits and stuff like that. But as soon as we reach that point, I want to say 2035, between 2035 and 2040, it's going to become such a standard that the carbon credits are going to like kind of go away. Like it's more like going to be like the government's not going to pay you. They're going to give you a tax break.
Yeah.
And tax breaks are part of it, but they are essentially going to, if you don't meet this certain criteria, then you're going to get fined.
Okay. And more of the carbon credits are right now just a way to push kind of what they're wanting to happen, basically.
Yeah. It's a way to push an agenda, but like also at the same time show companies that if they do decide to make a move, the quicker they do it, the more you're going to get rewarded.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also depends on where you are in your business and what you're doing. Like what's your product offering? Because if like you're like Tesla and you're putting vehicles on the road, that's really good because you're doing so much from like a charging perspective, putting megawatt packs for solar, residential, commercial, all that kind of stuff. So it's really good for them. But think about fleets and certain businesses that are like just starting to come around to these like ideas of what's happening. It's going to take a long time for people to really understand the education part of this.
Okay.
Yeah, because like some people are like, oh, let's try to transition our fleet as fast as we can, but they don't realize the amount of infrastructure that has to go in place, not only on the front end of things out and about in society, but also on the back end with their business.
Yeah.
It's so there's a whole lot of loopholes that like people are just starting to really like be like, okay, we need to dive into this and really figure this out, because if we don't, then we're going to lose out on ESG credits. But if we do, then we might shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit from a like infrastructure perspective. So it's kind of like I don't even know how to. It's really just one of those things where you either figure it out fast and you transition and then you shoot yourself in the foot, or you wait too long and you miss out.
Yeah.
really achieve the same mission here.
Yeah.
You know, let's try to combat climate change.
Yeah.
But I think we have to go about it in the right way that makes the most sense. You don't want to end up like California where you're saying 2035, no more gas vehicles, and then the next day
having blackouts and
like stop charging your car.
Yeah.
Let's be common sense about this more so than push something so lofty that it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
And then you take a step back and you're like, hey, whoa, we can't do this yet.
That's a little,
you know. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. So tell me a little bit about, you know, I heard you say this a couple times so far that it's when you were getting into the car business that you didn't have any experience. When you're going to help take the company public, you didn't have any experience. But you still jumped in kind of with 2 feet. It seems like. So how did you gain that confidence? What makes you have that ability and to go after something with no experience? Because there's a lot of people out there who are so afraid of doing anything they don't know how to do, and the fear just keeps them. So how do you overcome that fear, and what's something that you feel like has allowed you to do that?
Man, so I want to say that this has always just been a thing about curiosity.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think it's about being scared. I mean, a lot of people will be. But I think from a mindset perspective, if you realize that you don't know anything about something and you just it's like, hey, like this is pretty wild and I want to learn about it.
Yeah.
I think curiosity is what really drove that for me. It's like, you know, like there's a couple different businesses. I didn't know anything about logistics. I didn't know anything about beverage distribution and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, let's just like go and figure it out. I think it's more the concept of just going and doing. Because if you take action, you're gonna learn a lot, like really quickly. Yeah, like you're gonna fall on your face. You're gonna be like, oh shit, like, you know, this might be a good idea, it might not be a good idea. But the thing is, you're gonna find out in that process. Yeah. So if you just go and do it rather than think about it, because I mean, there's so many friends of mine that say like, hey, I'm gonna start this, I'm gonna do this. And I think you can always say that you're gonna do something, but until you start taking the action to do it. The action is going to give you the confidence to keep going back again and again and again, no matter how scared you are. Yeah. No matter how much negativity you face, no matter how much adversity you face, you're always going to be able to kind of grow through what you go through. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that's been just like a foundational point of like everything I've ever done. You know, I mean, from logistics to beverage distribution to health and fitness management with Exos to now automotive and electric vehicle industry. I mean, I went to school for business, but I didn't know.
You didn't go to school for this type of business. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this. I was originally a personal trainer right out of college. I mean, I went and worked for 24-Hour Fitness. They did a full corporate restructure that took more money away from personal trainers. And I was like, okay, I don't want to ever go work for a big gym again. You know, so I learned a lot there. And I think it's just, once again, you grow through what you go through. And the more you just take action, the more you're going to move forward. That's right. And whatever it might be, you know. So I think if you're curious and you're willing to go through the educational part and really just dive into it, because like, to be honest with you, I'm 2.5 years with Atlis now. And when I first jumped in, didn't know a single thing. And I feel like I'm just getting to the point where like I can go, you know, to like any convention or any sort of conference
and be able to talk confidently about it.
And be able to talk about it with everybody. And also challenge some of the norms. Cause like, you know, this is an industry that's really in its baby
it's a Wild West
stage. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of new companies, and really trying to get down to the conversations with people and ask hard questions, because if the hard questions don't get figured out now, the industry is going to be set up for a really, really, I guess, long road ahead. Really bumpy road. So it's really about figuring out those hard things now and having the hard conversations early so that you can just be successful long term. Because once again, we're all in it for the same goal.
So. No, that's good. Yeah, I love what you talked about, taking action. And I think there's so many people out there who don't understand that taking action and failing like as quickly as you can will help them like move forward. And some people, I think, also will take some action, and it's like average. Like no one in life just wants to be average. Like you want to take massive action as much as possible, because that's where you're gonna fall. That's where you're gonna fall. That's where you're gonna fail, and that's where you're gonna learn. And that's what I love hearing from you is like, hey, I didn't just like kind of do it or think about doing it, or, you know, you're just like, hey, I'm curious, I want to go and learn, and I'm going to take action and fail, and it's and you're going to learn. So do you feel like, because you play baseball, right?
Yep.
So playing baseball, I mean, that is a failure sport.
Yep.
Do you feel like that kind of helped being okay with failing?
Yeah. I mean, any person who plays baseball knows how much of a frustrating sport it can be. It's almost, I would say it might be second to golf in regards to how frustrating it can be.
We're going to be good friends with baseball, golf.
Yeah,
I like this.
because you just, you fail so often, and it's such a mind sport. Granted, golf, it's always you versus you and like how you hit a ball, but like baseball, man, if you fail 7 out of 10 times, but you get a hit 3 out of 10, and you do that your entire career, you're a Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. You're not just in the major
leagues. You're going
leagues.
To Cooperstown.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really a cool thing about, you know, some sports that are out there. The more you can get into sports that really cause you to consistently fail and really improve upon your craft day after day, I think that's one of the best teachers is
absolutely
those kind of sports that really, really make you go in and really win that battle between the ears.
Yeah.
Because it really is a mental game. Now, granted, you have a pitcher that's got to throw a ball, you've got to hit it, and then you've got an entire defense that has to make a play against you.
Yeah.
You know, so that's part of the game. But at the same time, you know, if you can go win the battle between you and the pitcher, you got a 50-50 shot.
Yep.
And then if you get a hit, you know, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just one of those things. I just had so many teammates, you know, that always just got so frustrated that they aren't getting hits or whatever. But I'm like, dude, like you're still batting like 250. Like it's not bad.
Not
but
the end of the world.
It's not like the craziest.
You're in the lineup.
Yeah. It's like you're starting. You're getting hits here and there. It's like it feels good every single time you get a hit, right? And like, you know, and you know it sucks when you strike out, but you know if you can just learn from your adversity after you fail and go out there and be like, okay, I got to make an adjustment.
Yep.
Same thing in life.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it is such a, you know, challenging thing. I've noticed like a big difference in people who have played sports and business versus people who haven't. Not to say people who haven't can't be good at business. Not saying that at all, but I have seen people have a lot of success at maybe a younger age because of the sports they played. I mean, you get a 3 out of 10 on a test, that's an F. You go 3 for 10, you know, in baseball. Like you said, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference. So just that mindset switch, being able to understand that. What have you done? Do you do anything mentally to kind of stay on top of your game within the business world?
So it's been interesting because when I first started out of college, you know, you didn't have all the resources that you have now. Back in those days, I want to say this was sounds kind of funny.
Back in those days,
because it's 2022 and this is 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
All you really had was just phone numbers that you could find on Google of like say a business that you want to call, and then LinkedIn was a thing around the time, but it wasn't like the platform that it is now.
Yep.
And now that there's software out there that can allow me to say go find you on LinkedIn, and then this software can pull exactly your cell phone, your personal email, your work email, and your work phone. I have a direct line right to you.
Yeah.
So it really just comes down to that point of picking the phone up and giving you a call.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people won't ever pick up the phone and give you a call. They'll just shoot emails all day.
Yeah.
Like an email is only as good as your subject line, and then after that, it's the substance of how you actually personalize that email to somebody.
Exactly.
If to get a response.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you call somebody and they pick up the phone and you get them on the phone, it might. Some people at first they're going to be like, "Oh shit, I got this guy on the phone. Like this is great."
Yeah.
But then they don't necessarily know what to say. So I think it's also the repetition of having not only just awkward conversations at first, because you're trying to get someone to consider your business for whatever you're selling, your product, your service.
Well, it sounds like this is what you did to raise capital for the company.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I mean,
like talking to retail investors who don't necessarily understand the bigger vision of the company until you portray it and kind of like, give them that picture. It was interesting, man. Like, because for the company overall, just out of the $35 million that we crowdfunded, I raised right around like 8.5 just by picking up the phone and calling. Just like, accredited investors, some bigger groups, that kind of stuff. But it really just comes down to calling people and like having hard conversations that put you in awkward spots. Because once again, if you fail, you learn like, okay, how could I have done better there?
How can I handle this objection better? How can I,
But yeah, I mean, from when I first started in business to now, it's a lot easier to get people on the phone and get right to a decision maker than it was then.
Yeah.
Like, I'll admit, I worked for a executive recruiting firm out of Chicago. I only worked there for about 8 months, and that recruiting is a very hard industry because everyone, especially if you're in an agency that's not necessarily tied to, say, like a corporation or something like that, you're always on the hunt for a big tech company that's willing to consider you guys. And we did executive recruiting, so anything from like a managerial role up. Think like, more decision makers, not just hiring for like a software engineer or something like that, but like more directors, VPs.
Okay.
So it's harder to get in with companies that way. But we did represent, a couple big guys, Grubhub, Groupon, a big tech company called Uptake. But with those situations, in that industry, when I first learned about it, man, like recruiting is probably one of the most cutthroat industries like you could ever be a part of.
Really?
Well, yeah, because everyone's either got their own internal recruiting team, and they don't outsource, or they might consider you, but you don't get paid until you find them a candidate that they ended up getting on their team.
Yeah.
And then from there too, you also have to consider what is the fee. Because if you're doing low-level software engineers that are right out of college, it's going to be a lower fee. But if you're doing VPs and directors, you're going to try to negotiate anywhere between like a 20 to 30% fee off of whatever they're going to pay them from a salary perspective.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, like I was not good. Like I was okay. I got a couple like companies in, a couple of security companies and stuff like that. But man, I didn't have a whole lot of help on the leadership side in terms of how I could go about it. And what I learned about that is like no one's going to hold your hand.
Sure.
So like
especially at that level.
I kind of wish I would have had some leadership to really help me, but I think that's where I learned like no one's going to hold my hand to go learn how to interact with people and like learn how to make business deals happen.
Yeah.
So I think it was a really good learning experience because I got let go.
Dang.
I got let go from that company. Granted, right after that, I ended up getting a job out in LA, which was super cool. So I got moved out there and whatever, but it was a quick transition, but it felt like shit getting let go from a company.
Yeah.
Because I simply just didn't perform. But I will say, I will never, ever condone someone to go into recruiting industry. Sorry for any of you recruiters out there or anybody working in the recruiting industry, but that industry sucks.
Yeah. Nah.
So.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it was just a stepping stone, a learning situation. And one of the things that I think I've heard you say is that you love the leadership and the vision for where you're at now versus it sounded like there wasn't any.
No.
So do you feel like you've learned a lot? Obviously, you have learned a lot, but has there been certain people in your life you can be like, I've learned this from this person, this from this person. I've really enjoyed this person. Has it been in business or family or life?
Yeah. So there's a couple people that come to mind. I would definitely say my sister Patty's one of them.
Yeah.
She's like one of the nicest people you might ever meet. Like I kind of call her like, a little. She's not Mother Teresa, but she's very close. She's very close.
That's awesome.
And one thing I learned from her was that, she was, if I just give you a story, she was riding her bike in Portland. Portland's being like one of the friendliest biker friendly, as in cyclist cities in the country. And she had this situation where a semi pulled alongside her and it had a hook sticking out of it, and it actually grabbed her by the back of her shoulder and ripped her entire skin off from her shoulder to her elbow. So her tricep all out, whatever. Her being one of my 5 sisters and one of the younger ones, it was very scary for my family when this all happened. Get a call in college like, hey, like Patty's in the hospital, like she might not make it. Like,
oh my gosh,
no one's sure. So luckily there was a cop that was like not too many cars behind the semi and saw it all happen. And the paramedics at first were, thinking like, okay, she might die here at the scene. Ambulance got there fast enough where they're like, okay, she might just lose an arm. That's what they were thinking on the way to the hospital. Then when they got to the hospital, they're like, okay, like she's not going to lose an arm, but she's going to lose definitely half of her tricep, and like skin wouldn't wouldn't take back to, it wouldn't like, try to regrow and like try to reattach. So they had to graft a bunch of skin from her leg and put it back on her arm to essentially allow that to heal. And now she's got this gnarly, just big old scar. But what I've learned from her is really just that, you can have a really near-death experience like that, and it's like really crazy because you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But for her, she's always just kept going in whatever she wanted to do, and she always puts her family first. I think that's a really cool thing about her. Like anytime, like, some of the nieces or nephews that I have, like, are just hanging out with the family, and they're like, oh, like Aunt Patty just showed up like randomly just to come see him, because she's a flight attendant, so she flies around the country all the time. But she just goes out of her way for other people, and like that kind of selflessness is something that I've really learned from, and it's super awesome. And if I'm going to just like kind of tangent that off to somebody else, like my CEO that I have now, Mark, the guy just doesn't stop. Like, it doesn't matter how many roadblocks he hits, he figures out a way to get the job done. And that's one of our mottos at Atlis, is make it happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Nike just do
it.
Sure. But
make it happen.
Yeah, just make it happen. Like whatever goal you have in front of you, like figure out a way, like find a way. And he always has.
Yeah.
So I think between those two people, just learning from that and learning what they do, and all the adversity they've faced and stuff like that. Mark started the company on his couch.
Yeah.
After he got out of Axon, he almost blew his house up too.
Wow.
There's a video we have on YouTube where he had a battery pack in the chassis that he first constructed, and the battery caught fire and put a huge hole through his roof. He almost burnt down his house.
Oh shit.
And he had 5 employees living in his house at the time with his 2 kids and his girlfriend at the time, who, it's scary.
Yeah.
Your kids are in the house and your house is on fire, and you also have the housing for your 5 employees that are currently part of the company.
Oh gosh.
So that's pretty wild.
I'm gonna have to check out that video. That's funny.
And I'd say probably like final person that I've just really built work ethic off of, I'd probably say it's my dad. My dad, he's a how do I put this? He's an agricultural engineer by trade. He flew for American Airlines for 35 years.
Okay.
But grew up a farm boy, one of 12 kids, Southern Illinois, and it's just, I think it's when you grow up in that kind of atmosphere where you're living on a farm with your family, and you have all those kind of family members are all chipping in to keep the farm going. You don't lose the mentality of like, there's always work to be done.
Yeah.
Like he could be retired right now, sitting on a beach somewhere and just like hanging out. But no, he's a retired airline pilot, and he's in Central Illinois right now harvesting crops.
Wow.
With family, because that's all.
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
Family.
And that's what he loves. He loves doing work. He loves trying to make an impact in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't stop. So I think from that perspective of a work ethic, like someone who just never feels like there's not enough to be done. Like he always just keeps going. And he's about to hit 80 next year. He just hit 79 in September. But I mean, he's out doing combine stuff. He's moving. He doesn't look like he's that old.
No,
he looks like
he's probably 60,
65.
Moving and all that.
Yeah, just super young looking. But I'd say that guy.
Yeah.
Just doesn't stop. So
that's awesome.
Super awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, that's what that's what the show's all about. Bear Fruit Show. I had a mentor once tell me, like, go find somebody with fruit on the tree and learn from them and let their ceiling be your floor. And that's what you've done in all the different aspects of your life. You've done it with your sister, your dad, your current, CEO. Yeah. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's
100%.
really, really cool. So I saw that you're about to have a kiddo. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Got a little girl on the way. She'll be here beginning of January.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Are you excited, nervous? Is it just another adventure?
Oh man. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever ready for a kid.
Yeah.
Whether it's, someone who just has an accident like in high school, or like even someone who is ready and
plans everything
and established. You can say you're planning this and you're ready for it, but I don't think anybody is ever ready for the amount of sleep that you're going to lose, for the amount of obligation now that you have, because it's a
game changer.
Yeah, I know. The second that she comes into this world, it's going to be one of those situations where like, wow, like everything has just changed. Like all my focus is going to be on my wife and the kid from now on, and what am I going to do to ensure that they are happy and that the foundation of our household is strong, and that I can provide an environment, for them to grow and for her to grow up and with the most opportunities.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we always want is for our kids to just have, the best opportunities as possible, because you want to give them something that you didn't have.
Yeah.
I grew up very privileged and very blessed, for sure, from my mom and dad. So I don't really have much to complain about ever,
Sure.
but I definitely do believe that there are things that I've learned from my family. My parents are divorced, so there is something to learn from that.
Yeah.
But I do believe, that there's always things that can be improved upon. So I want to take that as like kind of not necessarily the blueprint, but I want to take that and be able to create something that's a lot different of an experience for her.
Mm-hmm.
As she grows and as she gets older and stuff like that too. And especially being I guess since I have 5 older sisters, and out of my nieces and nephews, I've got 7 total, and 6 of them are girls.
Okay.
Girls, the female runs in the family.
There you go.
But it's always one of those things you have to be very cognizant of, like growing up, because you always see the funny comedy shows or whatever of the daughter's going to go off to prom someday and then have to meet the boy who's taking her and all that stuff. So it's a long ways off, but
it's just something you think about.
I
got 2 little girls, and I'm 3 and 1, and we got 1 on the way, and so it's like totally.
Yeah.
Get 100% what you're saying.
Yeah, so excited about the first one. I think we're going to go for a couple. We'll probably try between 3 to 4, but
there you go.
Super excited for the first one.
Yeah,
so
that's exciting.
Here it gets only easier after the first one if you get to number 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten easier. We've always just said, when we first got married, like, we'll have like 5 or 6, and we're like, we'll have 1 at a time now, and so it's been good.
Yeah.
And everyone's been healthy, and that's the main thing. Is just healthy, and they're just so much fun, man. They light up your day, and you could have a crazy day at work, and you come home, and that's the one thing I feel like kids teach you so much. Like my daughter's 3, like she is so excited about everything. Like we walk into the store, and she's like, I don't know what I mean. It could just be like, Daddy, look at that, or like we're from Colorado, Durango, so it's a small little mountain town. So being in Phoenix, it's like she's like, there's not even big like skyscrapers here or anything like that, like not very many. And she's like, Daddy, look at that building, and like she's just like so excited about the building, and I'm like, oh, like that is cool, like so it's just like neat. Their perspective just on everything is so cool, because I love the excitement from kids. You can just, it's something I feel like a lot of adults just they've lost that somewhere along the way, and they just kind of aren't excited about life for whatever reason, or they've had stuff happen or whatever it is. But I think kids like carry that inner, like that joy and that excitement, and I think it's something,
it's a curiosity.
The curiosity.
They don't know, and it's like something we just become so used to seeing in like little things, but they pick out different pieces of perspective. Yeah. And like perspective's everything. That's like one of the things I preach with like a lot of my friends, like, hey man, like, do you think about it like this or like that? And like kids, it's such an unfiltered thing to them, because they don't know. No. So if they can go out there and just be themselves and really just be like, hey, like this is so cool. And it's like, wow, it's so cool to like that you're into that. Like that you see it this way, and I just never, I walk by it every day and I don't see it that way, but
exactly.
you do, and so I'm stoked that you see it that way. So
that's
I'm excited for those moments too.
It's going to be special.
I think with kids, I think it's one of those things that you kind of, you build up a new best friend in a way, whether it's a boy or a girl. Yeah. But you develop such a relationship that's very similar to your significant other, but it's a younger you and them together. Yeah. Where they'll have some similar quirks and tendencies and stuff that you do, because they learn from you, obviously. Yeah. But they do it in their own way. So I think that's another piece that I'm like super excited about, is like, I'm going to see like half of me and half of my wife, Laura, and, this little girl. But she's going to, do things in her own way. But once again, she's going to mirror a lot of her, like her attitude and like the way she speaks off of like the way we, interact with each other too. So I think that's one big thing for Laura and I, is like really setting a tone from like how we speak to each other, especially around her. And try to build a really a home of love and understanding, and like it's never going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, but creating a very open and transparent environment for the kid to be themselves. I think that's really one of the main things that we're really pushing for. And always ask questions. I mean, the more curious the kid can be and like ask questions, the more they're going to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
So super excited for those moments.
That's definitely something I've allowed for Anaya, our 3-year-old, because she's always so curious about things. And even in, I'm working from home and business and stuff like that, I've stopped saying like, hold on to my daughter and hold on to the person I'm on the phone with and say, and I'll answer a question or allow her to be curious. Because I think that's a lot of times, unfortunately, parents are like, hold on. And it's like, no, we should be like, this is the most important thing in my life, right? Not
100%.
this business call. Like the business person will understand. And so anyways, but yeah, allowing them to be curious and not telling them to hold on.
Yeah.
And allowing them to ask that question and answer it. And so, yeah, it's cool. So definitely cool. Within your leadership organization, how are you, I mean, you kind of answered this, but how are you passionately pursuing like your guys' like goal and vision?
It's interesting because when you have that many like business units and a couple different product offerings, it's like kind of like you're a little scatterbrained at first, but the way we approach like any sort of goal is like we always have what we like to call as like little mini sprints. So we'll be like, okay, let's have this overarching goal, but then let's really have the like building blocks of that goal to achieve in small increments. I guess it's like kind of one of those things where you want to like kind of inch your way there, but you want to do it in a way where you're being as efficient as possible.
Okay.
But you're breaking it out into small chunks. It's not like if you think about like the way most people go to like school, it's you're not just going and getting a degree in 1 year.
Yeah.
Or like you can't just go and become this successful entrepreneur or whatever it might be, just like ASAP. It's really just taking small goals and really building upon those and achieving those in significant timelines. Like it might be really fast that you might need to get something done, but like if it's attainable and it's achievable, then let's go do it.
Yeah.
So doing it in a small fashion, but really using that as building blocks to the overarching, overall goal that you want to achieve as a company. So it's breaking it out in small increments, in that way and trying to building in that way.
Nice. Yeah. And you see a lot of people, they have this big, hairy, audacious goal and they get overwhelmed by it. But you're saying like kind of break it down in these little bite sizes for the day and through the week and months and attack it that way.
Yeah, I think it's a repetition thing too. Like if you think about like bodybuilders, like bodybuilders and anybody who's in the fitness industry, they go out and they wanna be the big bad dog on the stage that ends up getting first place, but like you don't realize like how much actually goes into that with a lot of those people. Granted, now there's all natural people and then there's also people on
different
serious
level
gear. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you still can't go out there and like not do the work and get there. Like you still have to go and lift weights. You still have to go and
you still have to put in the work.
Yeah, you still have to put in the work to get there. So I think that's really one of those things that a lot of people don't necessarily understand because they think that it's just going to happen ASAP.
Yeah.
They think if I do this, then this is going to happen. But like there's so many people that they just go year after year after year and just keep building and building and building. And they go to competitions and they win or they lose. But like they don't realize like, hey, like this, it takes a lot. And it's going to take a long time for most people to get to where they want to go. I think society and the way technology is, we got things at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And it's
like, I want things now. I can get things now.
We're so used to such quick satisfaction with technology that I think it's kind of desensitized a lot of our society to the concept of how much work you're really going to have to put in over the years to really be successful. I mean, it's like same thing with like anybody in, my wife's in real estate. I know you're in real estate too, but it's like, if you take a look at some people, I'm just going to use a big social figure like Grant Cardone.
Sure.
Grant Cardone, like, he's all over social media, whatever. He's got a big empire of real estate, but like the dude had to start in a very small, a small increment and build. It's like he didn't get there.
He always talks about all the places he flew to and just all the grinding, all the stuff where he'd throw on these conferences and 5 or 10 people would show up, right? Now it's like the guy could attract 100,000 people if he wanted to into a room. So I mean, it's like
he's an interesting guy.
Yeah, he is for sure. Yeah, he is for sure.
There's a lot of things going on with him that you can say bad or good things about him, but what the thing is, he's getting business done.
Yeah. He's definitely a master at marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure.
I mean, I think if anything, people are like, oh, he's this real estate guy. Oh, he's this, he's that. But he's definitely like a master at marketing and getting attention. Whether
customer
people,
acquisition.
whether people like him or not, he's still getting that attention and he's still getting sales from it. So he's figured out that.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
but yeah, man, it's really just, I guess people just don't take into account how long it might actually take.
No.
And if people know, if here's the thing, if someone told you it's going to be 2035 until you reach your goal of, like, say, having 10 million net worth or whatever it is, you're going to be like, that's a long ways away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that's going to have to go in for me to get there. Most people won't do that.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, I want it in 5 years.
Yep.
Because we all make 5-10-year goals. But, like, if someone told me, like, hey, you're going to be worth, 100 million by the time you're 45, I'm going to be like, all right, like, what work I got to do today to make sure this happens?
How do I get there?
I think it's, people don't realize, like, you just have to consistently every day go to war with yourself.
Yep.
And you have to really win the battle between your ears, because if you don't, you're just going to get gobbled up by society and just become another pawn.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, do you want to be a knight or a queen or whatever on the chessboard of life? You got to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be. I think people are created for greatness. You don't want to be just average. Like, there's greatness inside of you. There's things that are put inside of you that you want to go and accomplish and make happen. And there's dreams inside of you. And a lot of people, like we talked about, allow fear to get in the way, or they just don't. They underestimate the amount of effort it takes to get there. And I explain it kind of like when you're pushing a car from zero to getting it going. Like, there's so much initial effort to get those wheels rolling.
Yep.
Like, so much. Like, it's like you're pushing as hard as you can, and you got to constantly, like you said, win the battle between your ears and push.
Yep.
And then eventually you start to build the momentum. And people think the hill is like this, but it's really like this,
Yeah.
and it's like so much effort. And I think that's great. Cause that's honestly, for me, that's something that I think that I had struggled with getting into business. Like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to make millions like this. I'm going to do this. And that's like, no, it takes some time. It takes some effort. It takes good systems and processes. It takes failing. It takes learning from others, all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think also too, is if you think about, like, climbing like a mountain, or like, going on like a big hike or something like that, you can always reach the top of one mountain, but then there's another mountain that's even higher.
Yeah, that's right.
So you, like, hit this peak, and then you're like, oh, well, there's one that's over there that's a little bit higher. I want to go there. But then you realize you have to go down over here, and then you have to go back up over there. And it's like, there's going to be a lot of detours in life.
Yeah, no, there is.
And shit's going to happen. Like, people are going to have, probably between 60 to 70% of our population has health issues.
Yeah.
They're mostly just related to nutrition and
just
exercise.
not eating.
So, like, for me, it's like, if I'm going to try to perform 100% every single day, I need to take care of my body that's going to allow me to go out there and perform every day. A way I like to put it is, if you're trying to be a Ferrari or a Lamborghini kind of person in terms of your body and, like, what you want to look like, well, you're not going to go and be a Ferrari if you're going to put unleaded in your vehicle.
Yeah.
You got to put premium in to get premium out.
Yep.
So
that's
whether
right.
it's food, knowledge, the people you surround yourself with, and then, your diet and your exercise, everything kind of, within that circle is really pivotal to where your growth's going to be at.
Yeah.
And when I say people around you, I think it's also people who, you can have really hard conversations with. If I just think it's one of those things where I want my best friends to always be as transparent as possible with me.
Yeah.
Because that's not only going to allow me to be honest with myself and see things from a different perspective of transparency and honesty, but that's going to allow us to grow as a group.
Yeah.
And to really get to that next level as a group, because that's what it's about, right?
It's about.
You want to grow and you want to win with the people around you.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be the lone wolf on the top. Now, some people do like that, but
Yeah.
When they say it's lonely at the top, it's not necessarily that way all the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be. I think a lot of people, like I find this with business and business owners, is that they'll be so focused on their goal, they'll forget like the importance, and they'll leave their family behind or end up losing their family in the process.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if that's part of your why, like you got to figure out how to bring them along, or to maybe slow down a little bit to be able to accelerate longer and farther, in life. So you don't want to get to the finish line and, like you said, not have why you started this in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's super important to have.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think your tribe and your environment, however you can grow with the people around you.
Yeah.
Like it's a win-win for everybody at that point.
Yeah.
Because if I can support someone's business, like whether I'm a businessman and someone's got, a PT clinic or whatever it is, I want to help them grow however I can, whether it's referrals, whether it's this or that. I want people who I love, I want to see them win. Yeah. I want everybody to win. Even if it's someone who I might not actually align with from a mission perspective or.
Sure.
I just don't want anybody to go through life and have negativity or anything brought into their life from a bad perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you can not necessarily like somebody or associate with somebody, but the second you start, one thing I like about, I'm going to backtrack here. One thing I like about Andy Frisella, one of my favorite people to listen to, is he says the second you start wishing somebody not to like be successful, is that like that negativity coming into your mind is only hurting you from your perspective of like where you're going and where you're growing to, because if you allow that to fester in your mind, then you start having those thoughts about other things, and then just it's even just the slightest bit of negativity like that. So there's people in my life, across the board in business, who have screwed me over, whether it's friends or business partners or whatever, but I want everybody to win. Yeah. So if they do, then, that allows society to move forward.
Yep.
No,
that's a good perspective. You want everybody to win, you want to win, and you got to, I think it's like you said, it's like figuring out associating yourself with the right people. It's not like you have to, people you don't agree with, obviously you want them to win, but they're not going to be necessarily kind of on the inner circle.
Yeah, you don't have to be cohesive with them. You can still be on the sidelines and say like, hey man, like I still want you to win. I still want you to go out and be successful and be happy.
Sure.
But am I going to be part of it? Probably not.
Yep.
So I think that's just my 2 cents on that piece, but yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm with you.
So with the, you kind of talked about the fitness piece of things in your life. What are some of the things that you feel like you do every day to kind of, like you said, put the right fuel in the Ferrari?
So definitely, I at least try at least 5 out of 7 days a week, get to the gym super early.
Yeah.
I'm up at like 3:50 in the morning every day.
Nice.
It's just one of those things where I feel like I just got to get in, get it done, and take care of the business there on the health side, because then that's going to allow me to really just get my day going. With the business that I'm in now, a lot of my calls are not only just dealing with the East Coast people, but I deal with a lot of people that are international. So whether it's calls with people in like Dubai, or like calls with people in the UK or Germany or stuff like that, because there's a lot of engineering groups that we work with out of those countries and stuff like that. Like I got to be on calls at like 6 a.m., 6:30 or something like that. Yeah. So it just depends on the day, but it's really one of those things where I got to start early, because if I don't, then I'm just going to kind of delay, or I guess just not start my day off in a productive manner. I think if I just get it in and get it done, it's way easier for me to go be productive throughout my day. Yeah. Now, there's some people who are different. They like working out in the evenings. I don't know about you. I hate going to the
can't
gym.
do that. If I don't work out in the morning, it doesn't happen.
Oh, man. It's just one of those things, too. If you go to the gym like super late, and there's so much traffic in the gym, and you just can't get in. Now, I realize there's a lot of people out there that's the reality. Sure. Like, they have to go through that. But I would always, try to, just encourage people to go to bed early, like like 3 or 4 nights, and watch what happens. And watch what happens. Because especially for dudes, like guys compared to girls, our testosterone levels are significantly a lot higher, before 11 a.m. Compared to in the afternoon and the evenings. So you'll more likely get a better workout. You'll get more testosterone flowing through your body. And once again, that plays into the rest of your day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, early and often on the workouts for sure. And then I would say just somewhere in there, you want to have some sort of meditative practices.
Yeah.
I think breath work is one of the things that I found in college, and I found it in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know, everyone goes through college and they want to have fun. They want to be life of the party and you know, go out and drink, have
sure, yeah.
You know, experiment, have unique experiences with friends. And I only had about 2 out of my 5 years in college where I like heavily drank and like,
sure.
had a good time.
Yeah.
But in the second year, I found Wim Hof.
Yeah.
And
I'm a Wim Hof fan too, so yours.
Yeah. And Wim, I don't think he'll ever hear this, but I want him to know that, you know, if you ever get a little too messed up from some alcohol and you start getting some spins and you get in that space, you can Wim Hof your way out of it.
Yeah. That's
happened to me. That's happened to me. I want to say 5 to 10 times where I'm like, oh, room spinning. Like
I need to breathe.
I need to sit down and I just need to focus on my breathing, and I've gotten out of it. So it's like kind of weird that I found it that way, but yeah, like power of breath, somatic release.
It's crazy.
There's a lot of stuff there that really, it can transform your life in a way where you can become more focused. You can really feel not only where your issues are and tension in your body, but like also can help reshape your mind in a way of, you know, positive thinking.
Yep.
You know, it's a level of consciousness that a lot of people, until you start getting into it, they don't necessarily understand.
They think it's weird. Yeah.
And then they're like, holy shit, this is
a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'd say that's another piece of it too. I love ice baths.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing. I don't do it like crazy often, but if I can,
Heck yeah.
My next goal is like get one of the cold plunges at home.
Yep.
So I can start doing it daily, because Joe Rogan does it daily and I love what he's doing. So, but yeah, working out, eating right, cooking at home as much as possible. I try not to eat out a ton. But I do have like a big fat pizza once a week.
Yeah.
You know, that's just one of those things. I'm a Midwest guy. I love cheese. I love milk. You know, it's just what I grew up on. You know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, really, those are really the things that I really just try to take care of every day, because then that's going to allow me to be successful in the business side of things every day. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I agree. Working out and the breath work, you know, doing, I do the 30 fully in, fully out, and then hold your breath and do the push-ups and just get a ton of oxygen to your brain. And you just feel like, and I do it throughout my day too, because it allows, like, if I get groggy or whatever, like, I don't have to be chugging coffee. I can just be like, I can just be awake. It's awesome.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And you're right.
So
many people think like, oh, this is weird or that's weird, but once you start doing it, you're like, this is like one of the best kept secrets ever. This is a good thing.
Yeah, I was at a baby shower yesterday, and me and a friend of mine named Charlie, we were just talking about it, and he, you know, has started looking into this different kind of breath work where you can get to a point where you actually like hallucinate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, was it like a positive hallucination or was it like a negative one? And he was like, dude, it was so positive. I'm like, well, okay, it's pretty gnarly. I've never gotten to that point.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like now very curious, because I'm like, if you can hallucinate in a way where you maybe see positive stuff in your future.
Sure.
You know, this is always one of the things that people talk about, especially successful people. They envision their future.
Right.
They almost see it before it happens.
Yeah.
It's one thing that Kobe always talked about.
Yeah.
Is like visualization is so big.
Yep.
And you can think about it all you want, but if you get into an area of breath work where it like forces your body to do that, and like, once again, hallucinations are what they are.
Sure.
They can be positive or negative, but he was saying that they're so positive, and I was like, man, like, that's something to look into.
Yeah.
Because it might be very powerful for some people. Now, everyone's got different minds, so it's really where's your mind at when you're getting into it.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's right.
But yeah, breath work, food, exercise, and then I would just say like downtime with family. Like, you know, I think you know, kind of just picking their brains and trying to understand like how or where their head's at on their week, or like where they're trying to go at from a goal perspective. What are they curious about? I think if you can really dive into people's brains and try to make it less about you and more about them, not only are you going to build a bigger relationship with a lot of people, not just your loved ones, but like close friends, you get to this level of rapport and understanding with each other that they open up so fully to you that you get deep and you get down to like some people's like darkest secrets.
Yeah.
But you learn through those people, and then like your trust and your bond with them, it just gets more and more solidified. So it's amazing to have those experiences.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, one of the things that, and this was one of the mistakes I made, you know, when I had the family stuff, like I would go so hard, work out, do all my thing, go to business, and then I would actually miss out on connecting with my wife and the kids, and they wouldn't see me till the evening. So that was one of the big things that I had to learn, was like, before, like, it's okay to take an hour, 30 minutes, whatever, in the morning, you know, 9, 8, whatever makes sense, and connect with the ones you love, right? Because that's the game changer. Because if you go and accomplish all your stuff, but you miss out on that, like, that's not good. So
No.
So I love what you said there. That's awesome.
Downtime with family.
So, but hey, thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah.
I love having you on here.
It's awesome,
I feel like we could keep talking for hours, but
man.
I know you got places to be, and you know, you're a world changer, and I'm excited to see the places that you go. So
I'm excited to tune in more on the show too, and probably got some recommendations for people that you might want to interview as well. So I'll feed some people your way as well.
Let's do it. Awesome. All
right,
right,
help you grow. So.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right, guys.
All right.
Yep.